Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger and my friends. Here we are again. Another installment in the lore series covering the King of Fighters sagas. This time, the Ash Crimson Saga. This covers King of Fighters 2003, King of Fighters 11, and the King of Fighters 13. So in the Orochi Saga, we had all sorts of weird mysticism. In the Ness Saga, it was all about spycraft and intrigue. And this saga is all about, well, one really jerk French guy. Ash Crimson is a guy that nobody likes. He does not try to make friends, and he does not try to make people understand what he's doing until the very end. And basically, all roads in this saga lead to Ash. Now, there's definitely a lot of secondary players in this saga. Team Sacred Treasures, that's Kyo Kusanagi, Iori Yagami, and Chizuru. They're big players yet again. Rugal's children, the infamous Rugal. They're now the hosts of the tournament. Ash Crimson brings in Shen Wu and Duo Lan as partners, and they will be a pretty big factor in the story as well. There's Elizabeth Blanctorche, and she is a very big part of the story here. Driven to find Ash, they were lifelong friends. They grew up together. They were raised together. And she doesn't quite know why Ash is going on the rampage that he does throughout the course of all these games. Not to mention those from a distant land, sometimes called those from the past, who are looking to bring in more Orochi madness. When it comes to the King of Fighters, the Orochi torch will never, ever be extinguished. If you want to learn more about the previous sagas, the Orochi Saga and the Ness Saga, you can find a link to those videos at the end of this video, but otherwise, well, let's talk the Ash Crimson Saga. So before we start with the first game in the series, King of Fighters 2003, let's rewind the clock a little bit, just some years before the tournaments, into the middle of idyllic France. Ash Crimson, an orphan, was adopted into the noble Blanctorche family. Therefore, he is the adopted brother of Elizabeth Blanctorche. Now, the Blanctorche family actually has a pretty long existing goal in that they're around to make sure a certain faction never shows up again. That being those from the past, who are considered demons in their own time. So that's the family duty, but other than that, Ash and Elizabeth had a pretty good childhood together. For the most part, they were inseparable. Issues only began when one day, unfortunately, the family estate burned down. At which point, Ash went his separate ways with Elizabeth. She never really understood why, although we learn later on, it becomes pretty clear he knew something about his past before he joined their family that she didn't know. More on that later. Now, fast forward many years, and now here we are at the King of Fighters 2003. Despite the fact that awful things keep happening, like stadiums have been blown up, gods have been raised and fallen. They had a laser shoot and blow up Southtown, which is one of the most populous United States cities. We had a space station crash in the ocean off the Pacific. You know, like tons of this bad stuff keeps happening, but the public can't get enough. The ratings are through the roof. By the time of King of Fighters 14, the ratings will literally be in the billions. So as long as there's a will for KoF, there will be KoF. And this year we have a new host who's a little bit mysterious, at least at the start. So now with all new King of Fighters games, there's a bunch of faces in the game, some returning, some brand new. And the most important ones are, well, Ash Crimson, obviously enough, and Elizabeth, and we already mentioned them, but also Shen Wu and Duo Lan. Duo Lan is a member of the Hizoku clan, a clan of assassins, and he is the son of Ron. If you watched the Ness Saga video, you probably remember who Ron is. Well, this is his son. And the thing is, Ron has completely disgraced the clan, and Duo Lan wants to hunt him down like a dog. Doesn't matter if it's his father, he wants to take him out. Now, Shen Wu is much less complicated, let's put it that way. He's literally a street brawler from Shanghai. However, he's a really good one. He is known as Shanghai's God of War, so, pretty decent title, right? And honestly, he mostly signed up just because it was a reason to fight, so not too much more complex than that. Even though Ash is the one who brought both of them in, both of them are actually rather suspicious of Ash and what he's up to, but otherwise they are in the tournament for their own reason, so good enough for them. Now here's where things change up from most King of Fighters tournaments. Spoiler! The hero team, and yes, it is very literally hero in sneer quotes, because Ash is no real hero, right? The hero team doesn't win. Spoiler. Ash Crimson does not win the King of Fighters 2003 tournament. Every other King of Fighters, whoever the hero team of that game is, they are the ones who win that tournament for the most part. And also, there is a split path in this game. Eventually, you run into someone who appears to be Chizuru. And this person is invoking the Yatta clan sacred treasure, the mirror. And through the mirror summons a dark clone of Kyo Kusanagi. And this person is just known as Kusanagi. Now, Kusanagi is very infamous in the King of Fighter 2002 era of games because he's basically like one of the more fun versions of Kyo, and he's a clone in those games. In this one, he's more of a construct by a magic rather than just a Nest clone. And how you deal with Kusanagi is the path you choose. If you beat him with a normal move or normal special move, then basically the tournament goes as planned, if you will. This is the official tournament branch, and you'll play out the rest of your matches as normal. You'll fight a few more variety of people before you get to the boss. When you get to the boss, you see this appearance of what is seemingly Chizuru again. Congratulations on winning this year's King of Fighters. And we're the sponsor of this year's tournament. Now, since you went the quote-unquote official way through the branching path, here you now instead see something else. The light fades and you see Rose Bernstein, Rugal's daughter. Rose is the official host of the King of Fighters 2003 tournament. And you're atop the Sky Noah, which is a giant flying fortress. Now, you won't be fighting Rose, though. You'll be fighting Adelheid. Adelheid is Rugal's son. Now, just before you get this confused, these apples fell very far from the tree. Unlike Rugal, these are fairly honorable and good people. From their end of things, anyways, the tournament is being played fairly straight. That said, when it's all said and done, you do have to fight Adelheid. And Adelheid, he's no pushover. You're now thousands of feet up in the air inside the Sky Noah, with Rose playing on the piano, and Adelheid is going to go berserk on you. So one thing to note here, unlike his father, he does inherit a lot of the moveset, but in a different way. He's much more about precision and speed, whereas Rugal, his father, was much more about brute force. Although, when it calls for it, he can absolutely bust out the brute force as well. Being a boss, in the end, he does get defeated. Now, I did mention earlier, Ash, the Ash team, well, they don't win this tournament, right? So who wins this tournament? Who is the one who defeats Adelheid Bernstein? Turns out it is the Akari Warriors, yes. They are the official canonical winners of the King of Fighters 2003 tournament. So Rose doesn't take the loss very well and wants Adelheid to fight and fight and fight again. Adelheid, though, realizes, I lost fair and square, that's it. And through this loss, a little bit of a bridge between the Bernstein children and the Akari Warriors faction is born. So this is one path. Even though it's the official tournament path, this is not the main path. So now, let's rewind. So going back to the Kusanagi mid-boss fight. So before, if we beat him with like a basic thing, like either a normal or regular special move, we went to the official Bernstein path. However, if you beat him with a super move, then this will change the path that you go on. You will no longer fight Adelheid Bernstein. You'll instead find what's really going on behind the scenes at the tournament. So now at the end, you see Chizuru, just the same as you did in the other path. Congratulations on winning this year's KoF. But this time, it is not an illusion. So this time, this is the real deal. And this time, well, after the spiel here says whether or not you're the chosen one, you're going to put it to the test. And after the flash, they're still there. And wondering what's going on exactly. And at which point, you're going to have to fight Chizuru and Maki. So here's the thing, Maki's been dead for a very long time. Maki's been dead before the King of Fighters 94 ever even happened. Maki was the original protector of the Orochi seal, and she died defending it against Gonitz. So eventually the protector of the seal would pass on to Chizuru. So how is Maki here? Well, just like the Kusanagi you saw earlier, Maki is an illusion created by Chizuru. And why is Chizuru creating these illusions? She's one of the good guys. She helped defeat Orochi during the Orochi Saga, right? So why is all this mess happening? Why is she going against you? Well, turns out she's not necessarily in full control of her actions. She's being controlled by someone else named Botan. Botan is a master at forcing people to do what they don't want to do, and she can control them against their will. Very literally controlling them with wires like they're a puppet. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves either, but Botan would play a big role in later games as well. Now, why is she doing this? Well, Botan is part of the Those That Come From the Past faction. They're here right now for one reason and one reason only, and that is, well, capital O Orochi. At which point we are introduced to Mukai, who is, well, the big bad here, stating they're looking for the Orochi power to help their master out. Chizuru is the guardian of the Orochi seal, so therefore they went directly to her. They need that Orochi seal broken. And even though Rose Bernstein is the official host of the tournament, they're the ones that sort of manipulated events into that happening. That all said, well, you kind of ruined the initial plan here, so Mukai's here, and Mukai, he's a big boy. He's much larger than everyone else, and he also is imbued with the power of the earth itself. And that's very literal, not just like, he can use earth powers. He's literally in tune with the planet. And SK boss fashion, he has a lot of cheap moves like that. However, as all bosses must, he does eventually fall. And the people who take him out are Team Sacred Treasures. So, Iori, Kyo, and Chizuru, they're the people to take Mukai out officially. But the real shocker here is after the fight, Mukai doesn't even really seem to be hurt at all. They basically, at best, just stunned him. At which point he begins speaking a little cryptically here. Orochi, beloved of Gaia. He definitely wants something to do with Orochi, as Orochi is Gaia's warrior after all. Orochi is the Earth's ultimate defense against humanity. The problem is, in the Orochi Saga, humanity kicked his friggin' head in, right? But Mukai leaves with these parting words that they will meet again. This is not over. So who are these people? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment, but now the direct aftermath of this. After the battle, the Orochi seal, for the most part, is intact, right? So Orochi is not coming back to life anytime soon just yet. That's the big fear, as you can never truly beat Orochi. You can only put him away for a time. So even though Team Sacred Treasures quote-unquote won, as you can see, they're a little messed up. They didn't win without any scratches. They are feeling the toll of this battle for sure. Starting to realize what's going on, Chizuru just lays it out. If she manages to stay under their control, or if they just manage to kill her, that would be enough to break the Orochi seal. But they survived. The thing is, there's another person at play here. And here is where we see Ash Crimson, finally. Ash was a part of the tournament, but he never really had any intentions of winning it. That wasn't part of his plan. He waited for Team Sacred Treasures to finish their battle and be weakened, and at which point he basically ambushes Chizuru and steals her sacred treasure, the mirror. And realistically, Iori and Kyo are not in a position to do too much about it. Ash steals the sacred treasure from Chizuru, and they just complain, basically. All while he has a massive shit-eating grin. And he's very clear, this is not over here. He says, Iori, you are next. Ash is here to collect all 3 of the sacred treasures. However, he doesn't need to collect them all at once. He's basically a couple steps ahead of them. He doesn't really fear them in any way. And it's time to bid adieu. So now we're at the point here, our nominal King of Fighters heroes, Kyo and Iori, they don't really know what to do here. We have a whole new faction of people that for whatever reason want to break the Orochi seal. We have Ash Crimson, who seems to be his own different threat. Chizuru is now effectively rendered powerless, and things are just kind of looking, well, bleak. So what's Ash's goal anyways? Well, that is to be explained later. But that is the King of Fighters 2003. So through the Bernstein path, through Adelheid Bernstein, the official winners of the tournament are the Akari Warriors. And through this side path here, where the actual meat of the plot lies, it was Team Sacred Treasures who were the one to take on Mukai. And waiting in the wings was Ash Crimson, waiting for them to be weak, and then he ambushed them. That's KoF 2003. Now, before we move on to the next game, King of Fighters 11, let's talk about those from the past, the villains of this saga. So our mysterious evil faction here, that's the plague of the Ash Crimson Saga, is those from a distant land / those from the past. Those from the past is pretty on the nose, as this is a little bit of a time travel deal. But it's not how it usually works where people from the future come to the past. No, it's people from the past invading the future. These people are from the old world, from Europe, well in the past. They are effectively a different branch of the Hekeshu, if you will. The people who are the villains of the Orochi Saga. They are followers of Gaia. In their own time, well, they were losing the battle, as it were. And they were losing specifically to Elizabeth's ancestors, as they were a clan, a group, dedicated to wiping these people off the face of the earth. However, their leader had access to a device called the Gate, which is effectively a time-traveling device. So basically, well, we're losing the battle now, so screw it, we'll go to the future where all the people of Elizabeth's clan are now long dead. We will find whatever power is left of Orochi, and then we're going to give it to our leader. He will take that power, we'll go back into the past, kill everyone, and take over the world. And very knowing of being a time travel device plot here, they know if they lose, they can just go back in time and try again until they win. In the timeline in the future they jumped into, there's only 2 people left who have the teachings and knowledge to know what they are and how to beat them. That is Elizabeth Blanktorch and Ash Crimson. So in summation, their goal is simply put to steal the power of Orochi, give it to their leader. They themselves are followers of Gaia, so it's all cool, I guess. We're just borrowing some other Gaia power. And then take over everything. And they basically have a magical MacGuffin that means there's no real way they can lose, because they have the big reset button. That all said, now we enter the second game of the Ash Crimson Saga. That is the King of Fighters 11. So some things are changing up. The first of which is Dualon leaves Team Ash. Dualon is absolutely disgusted with Ash Crimson and what he pulled in the last tournament ambushing Chizuru. So he's gone, but in his place, Oswald joins. Oswald is a retired assassin. However, for this tournament, he comes out of retirement because mostly he just needs the money for some medicine, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, joining this tournament is Elizabeth. So she was not playable in the first game of this saga, but now she is. And she joined because she heard what Ash did, and she's absolutely livid. 1, just for his general conduct, and 2, he is ignoring what they were both raised to do. They both believe, they're here to stop those from the past, right? That is what they were raised to believe, and he's, well, maybe not outright helping them, he's definitely not trying to stop them. So she's angry at Ash, and she picks up Dualon for the team, because he's angry at Ash as well. And rounding out the team is the ultimate opportunist, Benimaru. If you got a good chance at winning the tournament, he will always forsake his friends to make sure he joins your team. That's just how it always works out. Hell, even in King of Fighters 15, the most modern release, still works the same way. And so begins the King of Fighters 11 tournament. So Team Ash is a little different, but still he's there, and his main goal, again, is not necessarily to win. He does not win this tournament. In fact, he doesn't win any of the tournaments. He's kind of doing his own thing, and he's pissing a lot of people off while doing it. This year's tournament is again being held and hosted by Rose Bernstein. The thing is, though, if you recall earlier the character Botan, she's controlling Rose now like she was controlling Chizuru. Very literally pulling the strings now, hoping to get things going their way. Now, the tournament mostly goes as standard, although Adelheid shows up again just for the hell of it, try to get a rematch. However, during this point of the tournament, we can see people are conspiring. We have 2 new characters talking now. We have Shion and Magaki. and they are here to basically try to make the whole Orochi thing happen again. Last time around, they tried to directly break the Orochi seal, didn't quite work. So this time around, they're going for the more tried and true, just raise enough fighting energy, and that will awaken Orochi. It's literally worked before, so why not try it again? Now, for this year's tournament, it is Elizabeth's team that makes it to the grand finals. However, when they get to the final site, it is absolutely devastated because Xion was bored. Xion, I guess you could say, is an enforcer for those from the past. And Xion is effectively the head of the tournament. If you beat Xion, then you win. Now, Xion as a boss, he's actually very mechanically interesting. There's effectively 3 forms to the boss. There is the spear form, and fights with like a Chinese style spear with like the feathers at the end. Obviously gives a lot more range, and if you manage to hit Xion properly, it knocks him out of the stance. Then there's like the more martial art style stance, I guess you could call it. Has some decently long strings, some projectiles. Also has the rope dart stance, where it's literally just like a dagger on the end of a rope. The rope dart stuff actually I think is very well animated, just very interesting, really cool. It's not really something you see in fighting games, this kind of attacks. So just everything about Xion, how Xion works, how he attacks through his various stances, it's all just really, really cool. Sort of sucks, like in a way it's wasted, I guess you could say, because Xion does not suffer from SNK boss syndrome. Xion for the most part is actually pretty much a pushover. It is not difficult to beat this character. And beat Xion you do, as all bosses must fall. At which point Xion is now, well, just lying down and defeated. So the dreams of awakening Orochi through purely battle ways, not really going to happen. So now, as punishment, Magaki kind of rips a temporal hole into reality and just sucks Xion in. Yeah, it's really weird looking, right? The people that comprise those from the past have some pretty wacky powers. And now Magaki is here, and he's basically trying to be too cool for school. Not caring for Xion's insolence, he just says, well, we're here to give the Orochi power to our master. At which point he transforms into something a little less than human. Now, Magaki, unlike Xion, absolutely has SNK boss syndrome. This character is actually kind of ridiculous. Big chops, weird ghost attacks, all sorts of purple and pink lasers, this thing, where even if you block this, you're still losing a massive chunk of your health. But like the best of us even, he's only one suplex away from being taken out. And now you beat Magaki, or well, did you? Just like Mukai, he doesn't seem too torn up about losing. Even though he did not win the fight, he still seems mostly fine. The people from his clan are all pretty tough. Magaki is pulling basically the I'm too good for this stuff anyways, I don't really need to fight you. And when Taunt is saying, hey, you're running away, he's like, nah, not a big deal. Although at which point he does come to a bit of an epiphany. He feels that with this amount of fighting, Orochi has to have done something. But whatever realizations he has cut a little bit short. As you can see here, things aren't going too well because Xion, in this space between spaces that he put him into, now that it's open again, throws his spear and kills Magaki. Little bit of an FU from an alternate dimension. And that wraps up the King of Fighters 11. And now there's a lot of paths crossing here, and all roads lead to Ash Crimson. First up on Ash's team, well, it seems like trouble's a brewing, as Shen Wu and Oswald are now seemingly in a fight to the death. So when it's all wrapped up here a few moments before the fight breaks out, Oswald, well, he just wants whatever money they're going to win from the tournament, right? And the thing is, Ash knows a thing or two about a thing or two. He knows Shen Wu is just looking for the biggest fights as possible, and he knows that Oswald is looking for a specific drug, a specific medicine, right? And the thing is, he knows exactly where Oswald can get that medicine, the dragon pills as they're called. And the people who have those pills will only give it to whoever defeats their mortal enemy, Shen Wu. So now, Shen Wu is between Oswald and getting the medicine that he needs. So if Oswald gets rid of Shen Wu, he gets his medicine, and Shen Wu, regardless, is going to get the good fight that he always wanted. And Ash, being mischievous, he's pretty happy with what he set up, and he just walks away to let two of his compatriots to basically fight to the death. After that, Ash tracks down Iori Agami, and Iori has been basically put into the ride of the blood state. He's gone completely feral due to what those from the past have done to him, and now it's time to steal his sacred treasure. And just like Chizuru, he does exactly that. So after taking Iori's sacred treasure, he now has 2 of the 3, and he's immediately set up upon by Elizabeth, Benimaru, and Duolan. Elizabeth finally getting to confront him after all this time just, traveling the world to find him. She's a little cheesed out, pointing at him directly saying, hey, have you forgotten your mission? Like, we were both raised together and taught we had to stop those from the past. Like, in whatever form they show up in, we're here to stop them. And Ash just blows her off and says, I forgot, right? He doesn't really care, or at least he appears not to care. At which point here, Elizabeth is basically browbeating him down, right? But Ash says, at this point, you can't touch me. I'm too powerful. And he shows off the purple Yaskani flames at his Iori's power, because now he controls it. In no uncertain terms, he is warning Elizabeth to back off. However, Liz, not too happy with Ash Crimson, is not going to back off. So it's looking like a 3-on-1 fight is a brewing, but the thing is, Ash is now so powerful, he has 2 of the 3 sacred treasures, he literally can just blink out with the Yata Mirror. Before he parts though, he has a word, tell Kyo Kusanagi that he's next. The last sacred treasure, he's coming for it. And so we leave the King of Fighters 11, and Ash, not looking like a good guy. Now going straight into the King of Fighters 13. So the King of Fighters 13 is considered one of the best King of Fighters game, and frankly is considered one of the best fighting games of all history. It's just a damn good game. As you can see here too, the intro showcases some of the stuff that's going on, the sacred treasures, the fact that Ash is stealing all of them, and we still don't quite well know why he's doing it either. But now this is Endgame. This is the final chapter in the Ash Crimson Saga. So to set the table, at this point here, Elizabeth and crew is still basically just tracking down Ash, trying to figure out why he's doing what he's doing and stop him if he gets too out of line. Ash is doing whatever he thinks he needs to do. Still a little bit mysterious at this point. Kyo is under assault from those from the past. Iori, so desperate to get his powers back now that he lost his sacred treasure, he has accepted the help of Vice and Mature. He hasn't dealt with them since the King of Fighters 96. But so desperate is he to get his powers back, he's willingly making a deal with the devil. And of course, in this crux, the finale of the saga, lots of other teams are doing their own thing, right? That's just how it is, but almost none of them are directly relevant to the plot. Even Team K-Dash, who did help at the beginning of the saga, right? They defeated Chizuru and Maki, and they helped Iori and Kyo defeat Mukai. At this point, they're basically in babysitter mode for Kula. Starting here, too, some of the more important characters for the plot aren't even playable characters in the game, like Hydern showing up again. That all said, though, this isn't the Ash Crimson Saga for nothing, right? It all comes to Ash in the end. Ash has been working a long game. Not really anyone but himself understands what the game is, but it does come to a fruition here. And so do the plans of those from the past. Everything they've been working for comes to a head right here, right now. So let's lay it all out. This is the conclusion of the Ash Crimson Saga. So before the tournament even starts, Ash Crimson is now openly working with those from the past. Before, Elizabeth was criticizing him that he wasn't attacking them, he's just being neutral, but now he's just openly allied himself with them. Now that said, even though he's allied with them, he's still a bit antagonistic towards them, at least verbally. Kinda keeping everyone on their toes, and also sort of setting them on each other. Like, hey, say you know this big forbidden room that you're not allowed to ever go into? Ever thought of, going into it? I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Also before the tournament, once again, Rose Bernstein is the host, and Adelheid is wondering what's going on, because this tournament specifically kind of sprung up out of nowhere. And not only out of nowhere, she also built like a new multi-billion-dollar coliseum just for this tournament. And all without saying a word to her brother. Botan is still in charge of Rose, still controlling Rose, right? And this new Coliseum is also part of the deal. So even though it looks fantastic, looks beautiful, well, it's all part of the plan. And to stir up some S wherever he can go, Ash goes to Adelheid directly and, well, lets him know it's all part of the plan. Hey, if you want to do something about it, I invite you to try. Hey, maybe go call your friend, right? You are friends with the Akari Warriors now, ever since they won the tournament in 2003 after all, so let's pick up the phone to Hydern. Now Hydern, in case you don't know some of the older King of Fighters lore, runs the world's largest independent military. And he's decided to put together his own team for this. And wouldn't you know it, the members of this team, they're not any of them playable in this game. They're all popular characters, but doing the sprite work's a bit too expensive, right? So Seth, Blue Mary, Ramon, and Vanessa. These are all characters that have been secret agents at one point or another throughout King of Fighters history. And Ramon still absolutely obsessed with Vanessa. But in the end, these people are an investigation team that will put Persona 4 to shame. And, well, a lot of it goes about what you'd expect. So there's a lot of factions, there's a lot of intrigue going on, but in the end, the King of Fighters is about a bunch of people punching each other in the face, right? The two hero teams, well, they're at it again. Also, you might notice there's a new addition to Elizabeth's team, as Shen Wu is the next spurned compatriot to join. After Ash left him to basically die at Oswald's hands, he did survive the Oswald fight, but he's not too happy with Ash. So he joins up with Duolon, who already wasn't happy with Ash, and Elizabeth, and just basically, this is the anti-Ash team at this point. They all want something out of Ash, either answers or revenge. To note, in this version of the game, Ash does not have a team. He is a single entry character. Nobody will team up with him anymore. While the tournament is ongoing and all the fighters are having their best battles, the investigation team does stumble across the headquarters of those from the past, and well, as you can tell, it's a lot of spooky stuff going here with a lot of energy gathering equipment. You know what they're trying to gather. They're trying to gather that good old fighting energy, which is the ultimate energy to be gathered. While they're here behind the scenes though, maybe, why not a little bit of sabotage? Lots of fated battles happen across the way here, like Iori, even though he's done the deal with the devil, brought back Vice and Mature from the dead, right, to help him gain his powers back. Vice and Mature, even though they are agents of Orochi, do not want those from the past to do what they're going to do. Because they want to use Orochi to empower their leader, not release Orochi. Which is decidedly pretty counter to their plans. And if there's no more Orochi power at all, then Iori will never get his powers back. He draws his purple flames from the Orochi curse, after all. As the tournament's going on, Hydern's here with his entire war fleet, and they can sense there is Orochi power building at the course of the Colosseum. And all they really know is Ash Crimson is behind a large chunk of what's going on. For those that came before, however, that's going pretty awesome for them. Everything is going exactly to plan. They got a really big tournament, they got a lot of eyeballs at the tournament, and they got a lot of strong fighters at the tournament, which will feed their power into Orochi. And the fancy Coliseum that Rose built for this tournament is built directly on top of the portal which powers all their time travel shenanigans. And here we are introduced to the leader of those that came before. We are introduced to Psyche. And the thing about Psyche is Psyche looks an awful lot like Ash Crimson. Throughout the course of the tournament, Elizabeth is still chasing Ash, and Ash is still kind of taunting, but trying to stay far away. No matter how much Elizabeth talks about the mission, Ash really couldn't care less. But we do come to the end of the tournament here, and our winners are Elizabeth's team, Elizabeth, Shenwu, and Duolon, and then, well, time stops, and the S hits the fan. It is now at the end of things that those from the past display their full power, and Psyche basically reveals himself to the world. And Psyche is the strongest of all of them, and by a lot. Even Mukai, who, even though quote-unquote lost in the King of Fighters 2003, he still stood up and kind of walked it away, right? And Psyche, well, Psyche can blow him away in a single move. Eat his soul, and then power himself up. This is now the end of things. This is why Psyche is showing his face directly. And this is the last, basically, battle they need to fight the tournament winner and give that power to Orochi. And then finally, Psyche can eat Orochi and then gain his power and then basically conquer the world. It is sacrifices for the will of Gaia. And once again, Gaia, yes, that is our lovely Mother Earth, right? But in the King of Fighters universe, Mother Earth hates us. That's why Orochi's the thing to begin with. Now, Psyche, he's not one of the more impressive bosses in SNK history, honestly, but also, he isn't the last boss of the game. Like the others, even though you quote-unquote beat him though, he's not really that phased, right? You're just feeding directly into his power and powering up Orochi, but now something's happened. The gate, it's closing. This is their time travel gate. Someone messed with it. Maybe some investigation teams messed with it, right? So this is setback number 1. But the problem is setback number 2 is the really big one, because this is where Ash Crimson finally plays his hand. Ash Crimson played the long game. He always was on the mission like Elizabeth wanted. However, the thing he knew that she never did is that he's a direct ancestor of these people. Specifically, he is Psyche's like great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. He never wanted Elizabeth to get involved, and that's why he went solo. To, well, protect her, basically. He stole the sacred treasures because 1, it helped gain their trust, and 2, he just needed the raw power. Ash was powerful, but without the sacred treasures, he was not powerful enough to kill Psyche. But now this very long con has finally paid off. He dealt Psyche the death blow, God is in his heaven, and all is right with the world. Well, except for the one thing. In absorbing Psyche, turns out Ash wasn't quite as strong as he thought he was, and Psyche instead basically possesses him. Whoops. So now, let's fight Dark Ash. And here is Ash, and here is Liz, and they're both basically at the gates of eternity. Ash never really wanted her here to begin with. He tried to spare her all this stuff, right? And now Elizabeth is the one who's going to have to put him down. As a boss character, I guess the thing to say about Dark Ash is just his projectiles are pretty friggin' wacky. You can easily lose like, up to 40% of your health just in like a quick barrage of fireballs. That said, Dark Ash goes down like any other boss. That said though, there's a little bit of a problem here. Just because you beat Dark Ash didn't mean you actually expelled Psyche from out of his body. In fact, Psyche's still trying to pull like a puppet master kind of deal here. I'm your ancestor, your master, your god. So screw it, let's go through the gate, go back to the past, and we'll just do it again. We can literally try as many times as we want over and over and over. There's no end to it. We will win eventually. All you gotta do is go through the gate. But the thing is, this is where the one part where Ash's willpower takes over, because Ash is planting his feet in the ground. He is not going through the gate, and the gate's closing permanently. This means basically Psyche can't go back to the past, and Psyche is stuck inside Ash in the future, and in effect, now we've created a little bit of a paradox. Psyche can't go back into the past and get to the point where he eventually, gets down and makes sure that Ash is his ancestor. And since that can't happen, that means Ash can't happen, and neither of them are going to happen anymore. So in a way, Ash finally got his against Psyche, but the problem is he messed up. This didn't end the way it was supposed to end. He won, but not the way he wanted to win. He erased his ancestors, so he never existed. There's a lot to say to Elizabeth, a lot to say to Betty, but it's too late. Only now does Elizabeth understand everything that Ash did for her, and he's out of time. Time resumes in real space. The tournament still, like, it was just like a split second that went by all this stuff, right? So as far as everyone else is concerned, nothing really went down. Congratulations, Team Elizabeth. You are the king of fighters. Going back to the Hydern fleet, Hydern realizes this is going to create basically a bigger time paradox because it's going to mess with everyone's memories. Ash never existed, so this tournament never happened, and everyone's memories are going to be played with. No one will ever remember that Ash Crimson ever existed. And then we cut to a little montage. Ash hanging out with Shenwu and Duo Lan, him playing poker with Oswald. That's how Oswald joined the team originally. Him stealing the sacred treasures, childhood with Betty, lots of good memories. Childhood just when he was adopted by the Blank Torch family, and you're gone. Didn't happen. None of it ever happened. This tournament didn't happen. Ash never met his friends. On the plus side, for people like Chizuru and Iori, they never got messed with, I suppose. They never had their sacred treasures stolen. And, you know, some people, they're still having a grand old time, but some people are left alone. Some people got to escape. Botan and Xion are still at large. But the biggest legacy of events that went down is the seal of the Orochi is starting to break. Damnedest thing is, though, nobody should remember anything, but Elizabeth does. She doesn't exactly know what she's missing, but she knows she's missing something. And when she tries to remember what it is exactly, she just begins to cry.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
No. We ain't going out like that. This is video games, baby. There is never any consequences for our actions. Let me introduce you to a little thing called the King of Fighters 14 and 15, otherwise known as the Verse Saga. Wait, what is Verse? No, Verse is this guy. He's a weird space ghost thing. And what does he do? He brings dead people back to life. Now, wait a second, rooflemonger, Ash isn't dead. He's written out of existence. Shut up. You apply logic to this, I'll apply my fist to your face. Verse brought all these people back to life, and it's a lot of them. And some of them are a bit weird, right? But since Ash is back and alive again, people remember who Ash is, and Elizabeth immediately scours the world to find him, and they eventually find him in the crater in Ukraine. Kukri specifically is the one who sniffed him out, and when you know it, King of Fighters 15, Ash, Elizabeth, and Kukri are a team. And now that everyone remembers, literally all sins are forgiven. Duo Lan now understands his really roundabout plan of, attacking people and stealing the sacred treasures. Maybe that wasn't the best way to go about it, whatever, he understands. Shenwu, yeah, you left me to die with this crazy old Irish assassin, but, well, I lived, so you know what, we're still friends. Now let's eat hella crab, everything's back to normal. Ash Crimson gang, stronger than ever. And that, my friends, is the tale of the Ash Crimson Saga, with a little bit of a bonus of, turns out everything worked out for Ash in the end. So hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, check the end of the video if you want to see the other sagas or other fighting game related lore videos. And if you could leave a like, that would sincerely help the video and the channel. Very much appreciated. Otherwise, we're at the end, my friends. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games.